Having trouble wiring your electronics? Don't we all? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode, and we're no longer ice fishing. The ice is melting, not fast enough, but it is slowly starting to melt, so we're getting ready for open water. We got the kayak here, and we are wiring up a DIY power harness. Whether you have a kayak, a boat, a john boat, a bass boat, a pontoon boat, whatever kind of vessel you need, running your electronics is key, and making sure your electronics gets the right amount of power to them to run properly is key. So in today's video, we're going to show you how to do a DIY power harness, hopefully save you guys a couple bucks, at least give you the knowledge on how a power harness works. And if you have trouble with one, hopefully you can figure out the issue. In today's video, we're building our own DIY power harness to run the electronics on my kayak. This year, I'm running the Autopilot 136 by Old Town. Awesome kayak, spot lock motor. It's a game changer. Super excited to have spot lock on the kayak this year. We're mounting all of the graphs and running all the electronics, all the power through it, so we need a power harness. My last kayak, I did a little DIY, not power harness. It got the job done, but I realized it's not the proper way to do it, so we're going to build ourselves a proper power harness for this year. So what I'm doing is building a power harness, and what it's going to be for is 2 fish finders. I'm running 2 93SV Garmin's, and then I also have the black box for the LiveScope LVS 32, so I need power to that. I also have a micro power pole that I'll probably wire into the harness. I haven't fully decided that. I don't have running lights wired in it yet. I just have some cheap ones to put on, but I'm probably gonna make an extra spot on the power harness for when I do running lights on the front of the kayak. So got a couple different things. I also have a phone charger on here, a quad lock phone charger. So you gotta take into consideration everything that you need power to go to, whether you want it to individual power harnesses or you want everything to one battery, one power harness. And you can always make it so you can have multiple batteries, multiple power harnesses, depending on how you want to run it on the kayak. So we're going to build one that's going to be for the 2 fish finders, the black box for LiveScope, the phone charger, and then I haven't decided. I might make a separate one to run a smaller battery to when I do the running lights and for when I do the power pole, because I'm not always going to be using the power pole. Having the right battery and the right power going to your electronics, especially your fish finders and your LiveScope, is super key. You want to make sure you're getting the right voltage, good voltage to them so you can power, especially using LiveScope. You want to make sure you have a good clean image. So we're going to be building ourselves a power harness to run all that. Now yes, I'm building one for my kayak, but this power harness will work for anything that you guys need. So make sure if you're watching this and you don't run a kayak, no worries. The same concept applies to you. But in today's video, it's going to be for a kayak. So let's kind of walk through what we're doing here. And guys, before we get into today's video, everything that I use will be linked down below. You guys can go right over to Amazon, pick up whatever you may need, whether it's to build a whole harness or you want to add something to one or just whatever you guys need. All of my fishing gear, ice fishing gear, everything's always linked down in the description of my video, so always go down there, check it out. Go right to Amazon so you guys can get it nice, quick, and easy. We'll dive right into the whole layout of what we're doing. So for this whole setup, this DIY power harness, I'm going to be running my battery out of the Kayak Black Pack. My last kayak, I ran it out of the front. This kayak's different. There's not as much storage in front that can fit a bigger battery, so we're going to be running it out of the Kayak Black Pack. And this is new. If you're watching my channel, as you notice that this is new. This is the short stack by Kayak. To get some extra storage, because I'm going to lose some storage in here. With the 12 volt 50 amp hour battery, I'm going to lose some storage. So I put this on top to maximize myself a little extra storage that I'm going to use. But instead of running this way, I changed the way, moved the rod holders. I went from 10 rod holders to, unfortunately I went down to 8, but I have 2 other ones on the kayak. So we're still at 10. That's another side note. But yeah, so we have a 12 volt 50 amp hour battery in here, and we're going to be using all 8 gauge. All of our wires are going to be 8 gauge all the way down, because you don't want to lose any voltage as you're traveling that distance, especially if you're in a boat, running from the back of the boat all the way to the front. You want to make sure that you guys use the right amount of thickness of gauge and big enough wires so you don't lose electricity as you go all the way up to the front, and then your graphs don't run as efficient as they should. So we're running 8 gauge pretty much the whole way, and I'll show you when we switch to non-8 gauge. So we are going to have the battery in here, and we're going to have 8 gauge wire crimps to go right onto the battery to connect the terminals. come off of that, and then the positive, the hot, is going to actually come off and go to a switch panel. Or I'm sorry, it's going to come off the battery and actually go to a 50 amp hour fuse before it goes any further. So pick this up. Like I said, everything will be linked down below. Now, it doesn't match up perfectly with, if you know the Black Pack by Yak Attack, super easy way, customized. It didn't work lining up, so I actually mounted it to a thick piece of that cutting board material, that plastic material that I use for my DIY power pole mount on my last kayak. I've used it for the extra rod storage I made for this. So I cut a little piece, so I mounted to that, bolted it on there, it's not going anywhere, and then you can see I got 2 screws out here, and then I line these up. So it's going to go right in here on the Black Pack. And then it's going to come off the battery. The negative is going to come right off the battery and go right out the back of the box here. And then the positive is going to go from the battery to the fuse, and then from the fuse out the back of the Black Pack. So once that happens, we attach that. We're going to run, like I said, out the back using a Yak Attack through-hole kit. So this allows 2 wires to come right out the back. We're going to come right out the back here, higher up, so there's no issues. One thing that I have a bunch of extra stuff. Loctite waterproof silicone is a must around any type of holes, because you're going to get a little bit of holes and areas that could technically get moisture in there and water in there. So always put this around all your connections. But we're going to drill out a big hole in the back of this Black Pack, mount this up high, and then the wire is going to come out the back of it. And the reason is, so if I put stuff right behind in front of this, behind my seat, I don't want wires coming out there, and there's not really enough room to put them on the sides here. So it's going to come out the back here, and then I have the wires running right here in between the rod tubes and the actual Black Pack. Keeps it nice and tight, no way of getting your wires kind of all messed up and out in the open to get hooks on and stuff. I also have some old rod covers that I made from years ago. I might use some of that coming out the front here, though I don't know yet, because if I get a treble hook, you guys know how much of a pain these are. So I haven't decided on that part yet. So after that, we're going to go to all this extra 8 gauge, and then it's going to be going to a plug. So we got the Marine Coast 70 amp hour plug. This is a 2 to 3 wire plug, but you can use it for 2 wires. So it's going to go to the male plug in here, and we're going to hook that up, and then it's going to go to the female plug, which if you run an Old Town, you know these are our underseat storage hatches that lock. So what I'm going to do is actually mount the female plug to this, so that way if I need to take this out, usually my last kayak I had this mounted in my kayak and it stayed in the kayak during travel. It was super snug, tight down in there. I haven't figured out how I'm going to run it on this one yet, so if I need to take this out, I'll be able to just unplug it from underneath the seat and then lift this and take it out when needed. We're going to mount the female plug onto this, and then it's going to go into the kayak. And once it goes into the kayak, it's going to have 8 gauge coming out of this. So we're going to have more 8 gauge coming out of this, and then going to these connections. These are little, instead of crimps, these are actually like metal. They have little set screws that you screw into the wire. So all of the 8 gauge wire is going to come out of this plug, down in the kayak to this, and this is going to get plugged in or screwed in, tightened up. And then the other end of this is going to be all of our other positives and negatives from the devices that we're going to run. Our fish finder, our black box, phone charger, all that. But for the negative, you're good to go. Put right in there. But for the positive, you actually are not going to go directly into this yet. We have fuses. So we picked up a bunch of fuses, and there's a bunch of different amperage fuses. They come empty and you can choose which one. So we're going to be running 2 5 amps, actually 3 5 amps, and a 7.5 amp. So 7.5 for the black box, and the 3 5s are going to go for both 93 SVs and the phone charger. What we're going to do for the hot end of it is when the 8 gauge comes into here, these are actually going to come into here, all 3 of them. We're going to put all 3 fuses, or 4 fuses, yes, 4 fuses into this end, and then these are going to all individually, if you can imagine, all of these are going to go into this end, and the other end is going to run to each individual thing. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Might be a little confusing, but going to give you a full gist, and then we're going to start running through this. But the reason we did this is better power to our fish finders and to our LiveScope, so we get a good clean image and everything's run properly. and there's no voltage drop in anything, so that's pretty much it. I have a bunch of extra stuff in here, a bunch of shrink tubing to put on to get good, clean connections, waterproof, electrical tape. You got your snips, your crimping tool, a lighter, drilling holes in the black pack, scissors, a knife, and of course the Loctite. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Let's dive into it and start building this. Super excited to be doing this for this season, having it rigged right, rigged properly, and super excited to get out on the water. This ice melts. We'll be getting out there. We got a bunch of tournaments coming this year, and we're going to be rigged and ran power properly for this season. Alrighty guys, so we're going to start from the battery, work our way all the way back. I actually still have to run some of the power cables for the graphs themselves, so I'm going to show you all the way up until probably where I attach the other ends of the positive and negatives of the stuff that we're running, just because you're not going to be able to see it down in the kayak and stuff like that. So we're going to run all the way to the fuses and the silver parts here, and then you guys just add in the rest so you guys can finish it up. So we're going to start from the battery. We got the battery in here locked in, ready to go. So first things first, we need our 8-gauge wire. And this is right here. I ran it through the side already, so we'll probably pull this back up. Alright, so the first thing we're actually going to do, I think, is cut the hole for the Yak Attack through-hole kit, just so I can then feed these wires in through here, so I'm not putting it over through here. We're going to do that first. So, Yak Attack through-hole kit, super nice, super easy, tells you exactly what to do. So, a 1-inch hole saw. And yes, if you guys are scared to drill into plastic as a kayak, I mean, it's better that it's not my kayak. I've done plenty of holes in the kayak. But we're doing a 1-inch hole. We're doing a 1-inch hole in the Yak Attack black pack. So I'm trying not to have it too close to the hinges here on the back, but we're going to get as close as possible. I kind of was messing around with it, trying to get the holes lined up, and you can actually get these lined up at an angle to use the pre-existing holes that are in here for mounting. So it's super nice that I can just, instead of going straight, they don't line up, but if you go diagonally, you can line it up perfectly. So I have pretty much already an idea of where I want it. I just have to consider, because of me putting in the switch panel, and I kind of already, like I said, lined this up, so this is going to be going like right in here. So I got to think of where I'm going to put the wires in the other end. Already got the 1-inch hole cut out of the black pack, nice and easy, and then we can run the wires through and get them started. So as you can see here, I said right here, the holes don't line up, but if you angle it, you got the top hole and the bottom hole line up nicely. So we're gonna run that right through and then run the 8-gauge right through there. So usually you have to slit the halves. There's 2 halves here for the through-hole kit, but actually 8-gauge, I was messing around with it, and you can actually push it through so you don't have to slit the rubber halves, which actually is just nicer. So you get a better seal, watertight seal. So we're going to push these in a couple, like a foot, give us plenty of room. We can always pull more in if needed. And then the 2 halves just go into this through-hole kit, just like that, and go right in to the kayak. Okay, so we're going to use the hardware they gave us to attach these. And then we're going to attach these. I'm not going to put any waterproof silicone in yet. I'll do that at the end. But we're going to attach these right into the black pack. Okay, there we go. Holes lined up perfectly. Nice, clean fit. And we'll go on the inside and then start attaching to the battery. Alright guys, so we got it going through the Yak Attack through-hole kit and then to the battery. So remember, the black is going to go straight to the battery and have no issues, but the red is going to have to go to the switch panel and then to the battery. So we're going to put the 8-gauge crimps we have on here, and also use some shrink tubing as well, heat shrink, and that way we get a good waterproof connection. So we're going to strip it, crimp these on and heat shrink them on, we'll be good to go. Okay, we got ourselves some ratcheting crimpers, and we're gonna get this crimped right on there. There we go, nicely tightly crimped. Slide up the heat shrink, and we'll heat shrink it on. If you guys are heat shrinking, make sure you use a little ventilated area. I mean, this is a garage, but this stuff can kind of stink, so don't do it in the kitchen. If you do it under the hood fan, over the stove. Done that. Sorry, honey. But yeah, do that if you're going to do it in the household. And there we go. Solid connection. Heat shrunk right up against it, so it is nice and protected. It's not going anywhere. And we're going to attach this to the battery. Not right now, but this will get attached directly to the battery. And then this end is going to do the same thing, but then it's going to the fuse, the 50 amp hour fuse. And yeah, what this is if it gets too much power, it's going to pop the fuse. And then you can literally, it'll pop it, and then you can reset it just like that. A good safety measure to always have so you don't ruin your electronics or batteries or anything like that. So highly recommend having a good 50 amp hour fuse. Alrighty guys, there we go. Red connection's good, black's good. So like I said, the black will go directly to the battery and the red's gonna go to the 50 amp hour fuse. So we're gonna mount this right on the wall here and then we'll attach it. Another thing before we get any further into the video, guys, I just want to give a huge shout out to Jake Angulis. If you guys don't know, Jake Angulis is a big kayak angler in the Northeast. He actually gave me the idea. I messaged him. He runs 3 graphs on his kayak. He's very good with LiveScope. He's always in the top, if not winning usually. But I reached out to him because I wanted to make sure I do a proper wiring. So he pretty much gave me the whole process of what I needed to get. So if you guys, I'll link him down below. If you don't follow him, go follow him already. But huge shout out to Jake for giving me everything I need to know so I can do it properly. And that's why I want to share it with you guys. So that way you know exactly the proper way to rig up your kayaks. So that way you don't have any issues with your electronics or anything else. Alright, so I already got the screws already set up, ready to go. So we're going to attach this right on the wall of the black bag. Alrighty guys, so there we have it. That is not going anywhere. Probably should have made this plate even bigger. That was on my fault, so I could get all 4 corners, but it's kind of a pain. And this thing is like just barely not able to use just itself mount on the wall. So, but this will do the trick. I mean, it's on there good. It shouldn't go anywhere. And worst case scenario, I can end up making a bigger plate if I need to mount it to. But right now that's good. So start attaching it where we need it to. Alright guys, so we got the 50 amp mounted. We have the red going to the fuse. We have the black going to the battery. And then what we need to do is make a 5-6 inch piece right here of 8 gauge to go from the battery to the fuse here. And then it's going to go out down here. But anyway, it's going to go out. And then we will go to them through here. You can see how I have it behind the rod holders. And then it'll go to the male plug. So let's make a small little piece and then hook that up. Alrighty guys, just made a short little piece. So good shrink tubing on it. And then we're gonna attach it to the fuse and then the battery. Alrighty guys, there we have it. Red's going up to the fuse and then out, and the black's going right off the battery and right out the back. And then we have it coming out the back next to the rod holders. I'll probably electrical tape this. Probably not going to use that rod sleeve so any hooks don't get hooked back there, but electrical tape it up right through here and then come out here. And then we need to attach this end to the male end of the Marine Co plug. Alrighty, so we got the red and black wire here. We're going to trim this up and then attach the male plug right to it. Alrighty guys, there we have it. The Marine Co. 70 amp plug is attached. Yes, I did watch a YouTube video on how to connect this because the instructions only show the female connection. So, love using YouTube as you guys are using it right now. So, this is hooked up. This is ready to go. I might put something over this. I don't know. Like I said, the rod sleeves, they get treble hooks and anything hooked in them. So, or I might just electrical tape it just to not have it so loose. But that part's done. So the next step is we're going to be mounting the female portion of the plug into this hatch, or you can put it on your boat, wherever you want to put it. I'm putting it in this hatch, so less holes in the kayak. So we're gonna drill a big hole, put this in here, and then add more 8 gauge through the back end of this, and then it will go to the splice here, and then all of our fuses will go in the other end, and then we're pretty much done. If you guys are doing this on another Old Town, just remember the insides of this have to move a little bit, so don't just go drilling in here. Make sure that you clear it, and this is going to go literally, I'm going to have it like that. So you can take this apart. There's a nice big washer to keep it nice and tight, as well as you put the 2 screws in here. I'll put silicone around that. Now, as I put it, once I put it on here, so yeah, this part will be sticking out underneath here, and the 8 gauge will be coming out of that. So we'll get started on that. Make sure the hole saw that you need is big enough. This is 1 3/4 inches, and mine didn't go big enough. So now I'm slowly going to open it back up with open it up a little bigger with a knife, because we were just shy of needing the size we need. But yeah, make sure that the tools that you need you have. But this will take care of it real quick. Alrighty, after messing around for a while, got it in. Don't forget to add the cap back on. Almost just did that. The cap needs to go on the outside here. And now this will go right down in. And also, when you go to do the cap, don't forget to do the front plate. So let's try this again. Take 2. Front plate, then cap, then through, and the locking nut on the back side. Your cap is on the correct way, and there's also a notch here on the plate for the cap, so you get a good seal. Alright, 3rd time is the charm. Alright, there we go. Looks nice and pretty. Figure out which way I want the cap to face. Probably that way. And then also make sure, put some Loctite, watertight sealant if you want, but put that on the back side, and then we're going to put the nut in and then attach it with the 2 screws and mount it right here on the lid. Also, probably should have mounted the wires on it first after I got the hole drilled, but we have access to the back side, so it'll be fine. Kind of those things you learn as you go, but we still have access to what we need to. A little not as comfortable as having it off this, but I guess I could pull it back out and then do it. Yeah, I'll pull the washer off the back, and that way I can add the silicone too then. Okay, let's add the female, or add the wires. So depending on how much wires you have, I'm able to run everything after. So unfortunately, I don't have any more 8 gauge black. So I know you're not supposed to do it, but I'll just wrap some electrical tape off, and we're gonna just add 2 reds. One's going to be black and one's going to be actually red. So we're going to add some electrical tape to one end immediately that we're going to deem the black, and I can see the other end of the wire. I'll be able to tell that this is 100% the black. Again, not ideal, but I'm only putting a little bit on this, so we're just going to mark it black every couple inches. I'm not putting a ton on the female end of this, just because all my wires are already right there where this hatch is. So I'm probably going to do about, I don't know, 2 foot off the female end, and that just gives me some room in case I end up needing more in the end. But realistically, I could have this like a couple inches because I don't need a ton. So we're just going to trim this off here. And then make one the same exact length. Okay, we're going to strip it and attach it to the female end. Alrighty, so if you guys are pulling your wires from your boat, you literally can't do this technically because you're not, well, I guess you could, because your wires would be coming out of here first and then attaching it. But since I have the end of my wires, I can actually feed it through. So we got that. We're going to put some clear silicone on the inside. And do exactly what I did, which is get silicone on everything. Good to do. Also make sure, since I have the other end of the wires, I can put my nut straight on here for the backing. But make sure you put that on through the wires before you then attach this, or else you would be out of luck. Alrighty guys, cleaned up a little bit, changed camera batteries, and we're back at it. So, we are pretty much at the end of this. Like I said, we got it off the battery, going to the fuse, 50 amp hour fuse, and then coming out of there, going along the side to the male plug, and then this is going to plug in to the hatch right here where we have the female end, and that'll plug in right in there, and then coming off the female end is this 8 gauge. And like I said, one is black even though it's red, and the other one is red. So all this is pretty simple. All we're going to do is add these twist connectors, and what that is the black's going to go on here, the red's going to go on here, and then the red has to go to fuses and then to the electronics. The black just comes from the black that's coming off of the power cables of everything. So pretty much, we're going to put these on, but I don't even think we're going to show the rest because I got to run some more wires and stuff like that. But you get the gist of it, adding these on, and then like I said, you're going to add on the fuses. Now, some stuff already have fuses put on. Some of the Garmin's come with fuses, so technically I probably don't need these, but if you know Garmin, they have really short fuses here. As you can see, their fuses, after you rig them up on a couple different things, like that's all that's left between the fuse. So I'm going to end up probably cutting the fuses off, which is why I got these, and then just adding in my own fuse, just so I have a better fuse. The black box comes with a fuse already that's good. It has a nice way to get in it like these ones, so I'll probably cut off the ones for the Garmin's that I just showed you, add on these new fuses. I don't have a fuse on the quad lock phone charger, so I'm going to add a fuse there. But literally all of the red fuses here are going to get twisted into one, and they're all the same end. They're pretty much going to line up. All of them are going to go into this silver piece. Then I'll use heat shrinking tubing as well and the other end right in the 8 gauge. And on the black end, like I said, put the 8 gauge in there, and then all the black feeds coming from all your devices are going to get twisted, put in there, heat shrink it up, and there you guys go. There you have a power harness. It's nice because I can put a 100 amp hour in here, battery if I need to, but 50 amp hours, plenty for everything that I'm looking to run. I'm probably going to make another power harness for my running lights to run off a smaller battery, and as well as probably my micro power pole, because I don't know how often I'm going to use it now having spot lock. But there we have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Kind of a DIY rigging if you guys are looking to build your own power harness for whatever vessel you have. But I'm building one for my kayak. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you haven't, subscribe down below. Tons of kayak content coming. Open water will be here before we know it. Tons of tournament fishing coming. So let me know what video you guys want to see, where you want me to go fish. I'm in Massachusetts now, but I'll go to New Hampshire, Maine. Let me know a lake that you guys want to see me fish. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Again, everything's linked down below. We'll see you on the next one.